Host and stroke survivor, Jerry Walt. And for those of you that are new here to this show, it's all about bringing awareness to stroke, TBI, aphasia, brain injury, um, mental health. And also, I wanted to provide a platform for all survivors to share their journey from all across the world, literally all across the world. So, and also bringing on experts in brain health so they can share their knowledge with all of us, as we know it's a lot to learn about brain health. So this morning, my guest is Ben Hinton. So I just please ask questions, and he'll be sharing his very inspiring story and what he's doing now. And so please um, ask questions, make comments, and if you haven't done it, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Let's Talk Stroke. So let's go ahead and get started.
Only two men taking a chance. Telling me to.
Okay, well, good morning, and let's bring on Ben. And good morning, Lynette, Kevin. Nice to see you, and appreciate you're here, you guys. And hopefully, you share this content to somebody else so they can be inspired, as we all will be shortly here. So, thank you. Good morning, Ben.
Good morning. How are you? Obviously, we've been connecting here for a couple minutes, but yeah, good morning to everyone. And also, I don't know if you guys can see it because it says private chat for me, but I hit good morning in the chat as well.
Yeah, no one will see that except me.
Yeah.
But on the right side down
Yeah.
below, yeah, you can always.
Awesome.
But hopefully you can see the comments there.
Yep.
From, good to see you guys. I appreciate it. I love the comments, and please ask questions. And if you, for those of you, or maybe Ben doesn't know, tell us where you're from. So it's nice to see where everybody's coming from this morning. So Ben, how are you? Good to see you. Thanks for being here.
Yeah. No, thank you for having me. This is awesome. And also, I'll tell you the guests that are watching. Yeah, let us know where you're from. I'm from Pittsburgh, PA. So maybe we're in each other's backyards and didn't even know it. Because one thing I'll say is one of my great friends said, a stranger is just someone you haven't met yet. So let us know where you're from, and hey, maybe we can connect or something like that. So
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Now you've got an amazing, inspiring story. I always, I've had people say, well, tell me the questions that you want to ask. They were kind of the first one, I know it goes in different directions because you like to have the questions, but I always say, who has been before your brain injury?
So then before the brain injury, really, to kind of put all at full circle, really,
Sure.
to encourage others, because that's my number one priority. Ben before brain injury was a miracle and a mess. And I say that because I'm still the same person. And I do believe that, I'm just who I'm meant to be and who God's made me to be.
Yeah.
It's just my perception has changed, of who I thought I was, where I thought I was going in my life. I was, so 2013, I had a traumatic brain injury. So I was an adult. And my wife, not my wife, we had met and got engaged. In 2011, December 24th of 2011, we met. So we were engaged in 2012. And then on January 9th, 2013 is when I had my brain injury. I was home alone. She went to work and fell down a flight of stairs and fought consciousness off and on for about 4.5, 5 hours is what they say. Because I don't remember that.
Wow.
And she found me when she came home at 4:30, and called a friend of mine, actually one of my best friends now and growing up, and he's actually a doctor. And somehow I was communicating with her despite like initial falling, whether it was how this down the stairs it was or whatever. But so when she found me, I was actually kind of coherent a little bit with her, talking to her a little bit, and she couldn't see, but I was laying on, I guess, my left side, and there's blood coming out of it. And so when my friend, his name's Matt, Dr. Parumba, heard me gagging on the phone, that's when he knew, you got to get him to the hospital ASAP. and I was in my underwear. So, and there was even laundry all over the floor too. So I don't know if I was doing some chores or something. In the basement that I fell into had carpet, but there was concrete. So I was in my underwear, and then I had all these injuries. So when the police came, and I said, don't remember this, but I guess they thought I was being combative because I'm in my underwear and they come to get me and I'm kind of out of it. So it's almost kind of like is this person drunk or whatever it is. And so my wife had to, I think, tell him that no, he's fine, he's okay. He's not being violent or anything like that. And yeah, so I was in the hospital for 18 days. My journey since my brain injury for me doesn't really pick up until after about 11 days in. But to go back real quick about who I was before the injury. As an adult, thought I had life figured out, thought I was going where I was supposed to be going before I met my wife, fiance at the time. I had graduated from the University of Pittsburgh in 2010. I was focused on becoming a basketball coach and having it, whether that's going to be, high school, collegiately, professionally. I was really drawn to that. And that was kind of what I thought my identity was for a long time growing up. And then, I thought I had figured out, graduated, I had coaching, I had all these things in my control. I had great friends, great relationships. And then had the injury, and that kind of just changed the trajectory of everything.
Absolutely. How far of maybe it's a dumb question, but do you remember how far was the fall? Some people have asked me that prior yesterday and stuff.
I want to say it was probably 12 stairs. And the stairs were even carpeted as well. And because I was home alone, I was texting some people around 11:30 in the morning. My text had stopped. So because the doctors were like, okay, the text stopped at 11:30, you were found at 4:30. That's why in all of my medical charts, it said unconscious or fighting consciousness for 4.5 to 5 hours,
Wow.
which at times I kind of find not funny, but like ironic. It's like, we don't really know, how long I was down. I was home alone. We don't know if I tripped, or if I fell. If there was, because with stroke and things, they thought I had a stroke, and that caused the fall, or syncope, which is like the heart rate and things like that. So because that morning I did call a personal trainer that I was working with that morning. That's the one other thing I do remember. I called a personal trainer that morning, and the night before just wasn't feeling well because I love to work out, as you know, and you'll find out. And so I was going to get up early. I love to get up early and work out early. But I did call off that day, and because I actually was a little under the weather, like a cough or a cold. So who knows what happened? And I did spend so much time and years stuck in that who knows. But that's part of my encouragement is I'm no longer stuck where I used to be.
Yeah. You've overcome quite a bit. How long you were in the hospital? You said 18 days or so?
Yeah, 18 days. I'm pretty sure. 18 days is the number I remember because I was in there. I went in January 9th. And then, like I said, the first 11 days, and that's also just a number kind of I remember.
Sure.
But I don't remember so much at the beginning of it. I actually had a friend who I had so many people come to visit, friends, family. And there was one of my friends who came early on. And months later, I was like not mad at him, but I was like, oh, what the, like, you didn't come and see me? Like, what's going on? And the funny thing is, he did see me, but one of the first days, but since I don't remember that, part of me kind of subconsciously held that against him. And, I want to say I don't really remember the first 11 days because that's when I started having like my own memories and recollection of an involvement of the story. So, and you're going to hear some background noise, by the way. I have an 8-year-old and a 3-year-old. And thank you. I saw a comment about the shirt. Someone said that, they love the shirt. Yeah, this is a shirt of mine. It's from Run Free. Run Free Training is the running company that I've been running with for years now. And I love Run Free is the name of the company. And yes, the shirt that I got a couple years ago. So it's one of the ones I love to wear. So thank you so much for that.
Absolutely. That's great. I know. Hey, Mike Peters, nice to see you here. And I see this is a big question people always ask too is how back then your mental health compared to now? How we talked a little bit about.
Yeah, the mental health, it was at the lowest of lows, and it was a progress, I mean, sometimes you'd make a little bit of progress.
Right.
But the biggest thing is you feel broken,
Yeah.
you feel lost. Um, you don't have an identity, especially when you have something like this and any kind of trauma as an adult. It really, really adds on a lot of extra pressure. So
Yeah.
for me, for the first time really in my life, um, and now we're engaged and we still had the wedding when we wanted to have it. It became that there, became about control, right? You
Yeah.
feel broken, you feel hopeless. And so number one, you get stuck in this mindset of perfection. Like you want things perfected. Like I don't want to deal with this anymore. I want things to be perfect the way it was, which it was never perfect. But you're
Sure.
so stuck. You're like, I'd rather have it the way it was.
Right.
Um, you're stuck in perfection of like, I'm never going to get better. You start having all these questions. Like we want kids.
Yeah.
Family. I was on a third grade level cognitively for a while when I
Right.
rehab. So then that kind of was another thing. So you just don't know if you can get out of it.
Yeah.
So mental health was very low. Um,
Absolutely.
my lowest point, my one lowest point was when my first daughter, who's now 8, I was home alone with her. I don't know if it was the first time, one of the first times, and she was an infant, and I was taking a bath, and she was in the other room, and when I heard her crying, and I was in the bathtub, I had a moment where I'm like, wow, like I don't know if I can do this. Yeah, this is my other one. This is the
This
wild
is great.
Charlie.
Hi,
But yeah, that was
Charlie.
the lowest of low for me was in the bathtub, thinking to myself, like, can I do this? Can I be a father? Can I be a
Right.
husband? Can I be myself? Like,
You're
or who I
doubting yourself. You're doubting yourself.
so yeah, just it's a very long journey. But at the same time, what I will say is when it comes to mental health and my journey and sharing my story is you can have your worst day be your best day. Your worst day being your best day can be, and a lot of times is what is required to be your breakthrough.
Yeah.
So that's how, I've made progress, and that's how my mindset is, now is that my worst day is my best day, and
Yeah.
that's my breakthrough. Is the way I look at it. But it obviously did not start well. And so it says what hospital? I was in Mercy Hospital, and because Pittsburgh, one of the greatest,
Yeah.
medical regions in the country, and I actually had a lot of experience with that even prior to brain injury in a sense as well, obviously. But yeah, I was at Mercy Hospital, and my friend, I don't know if he still is, but he eventually became who was the doctor, and he was an ER doc when he was on the phone with my wife. He actually eventually was for a while. I don't know if that's still his role, but the life flight director at
Wow.
Allegheny General Hospital (AGH) in Pittsburgh.
It's no worries. This is great. I, I,
Yeah.
I understand. It's no worries at all. Wow. Yeah, it's quite the journey. So now, I mean, you're still going through the probably some little mental stuff, but you really have achieved some amazing things now. I mean, you're running. Some people, well, as you know, how have overcome with that. Yeah, beautiful girl. Yes, Mike.
Yeah. Yeah, she's beautiful, but she's wild. I have no idea how she came downstairs, half her clothes off. I don't know where her sister is, so who knows what they got into. She's trying to sit next to me now.
That's
Um,
okay.
yeah, I mean, medically for me, a big part of the process, it's really ownership, right? For some to have a breakthrough, uh,
Yes.
and to go through something, grow through something, your breakthrough being your worst day becoming your best day.
Right.
It's that transformation of your breakthrough and being that I took something personal and made it personal. Like when you have a stroke or a brain injury, for me, for instance, like it was just an accident, right? I was home alone, didn't know what I was doing. But when you have something like that significant happen to you in trauma, you start to question yourself. You
Yeah.
start to question, like, why me? What did I do wrong? Why did I deserve this? Right. And you take everything personal. So in the journey, it's that transition into making it personal, right? I'm huge and my faith is huge. It's gotten so much bigger since that day. And so the faith aspect of it is, if our Father created us, right, and if His Word is alive, right, and He can create things with His words, then that's what we can do. And so I literally, and it's crazy how the English language and how crazy the conversations are with us in our head, how words, we don't even know the meaning of words, or we don't interpret them, or we don't look into them. We don't reflect on them, right? Because something as little as, in this sentence, I went from taking something personal to making something personal. And when I made it personal, I took control of it. I took ownership, right? And that's what that's the power of the word, right? The Bible and the word is alive. So it's so crazy that just those words and that mindset from taking it personal to making it personal. Like, I have ownership of, my brain injury. It does not have ownership over me.
Yeah. You're seeing Kevin's comment there?
Yeah. What did I do before the stroke? So before the stroke, after I graduated from the University of Pittsburgh, before I met my wife, I was on the path. I thought I was on the path of being a coach, basketball coach, and working my way up the ladder. And I had been for a while a janitor at a gym in an area called Monroeville, because I thought I can be a janitor, and I was still physically fit. And I also, in the back of my mind, still had this aspirations of playing basketball as well. So not just like coaching basketball, but playing basketball. And I still played basketball as much as I could, because I did get to play collegiately. And I thought, man, I want to make a career out of this, whether it's playing or eventually over time in my 20s and into college. And then before the brain injury, I was transitioning from playing and kind of letting that go into coaching. And I was all in. And my wife and I kind of were on the same page. And then, I had the brain injury, and it completely wiped it all out. Because, college education, I didn't remember anything. My college education, my cognitive levels were very low. So I literally just had to start all over again.
Yeah. I understand. We all feel like that. Cindy, it may be on your side because we're actually going here. Nice to see you. But yeah, I mean, I know, I remember feeling like when I, like you woke up and, wow, I'm like at third grade level, if even that.
Yeah.
In the beginning, so how am I going to go back to what I was doing? So you questioned yourself. Why me? Why me? I see here, Mike said, yeah, why me to God? Reply was, why not me? Or why not? The wife agrees.
Yeah. And that's such a great point. Just that reframing, and what makes it so hard too is that, like, the frustrating part of it is, so for me, I always used to tell people that, especially because after the brain injury, like, sleeping was so hard, and that affected recovery. And my job was, so from 2014 to 2015. So I had the brain injury in 2013. I had some rehab here and there, but nothing concrete because of insurance and things like that.
Really?
In 2014, I started this program that had some inpatient and outpatient options. And so, but my job then, my first job was myself. And I never knew that job before, right? And even though I had aspirations, even though I was this person that was ambitious, I did actually struggle and didn't know of how to put myself first. And so after the brain injury, now 40 hours a week, my job is myself.
Yeah.
And that was an interesting, transition. But that was, for 40 hours a week. And so the frustrating part of it is, after having, a brain injury, a stroke, anything with mental health, things that are invisible, is you try to go back to what you were doing. And when you can't do what you were doing, it's like a childlike, like they get so frustrated when they can't put the triangle in the square hole or the circle hole, right? And there's someone there to help them. But as an adult, there's not really anyone to help them. And if there is, things like your ego get in the way, right? Which I dealt with, because you're an adult. Like, it shouldn't be this way. So that was huge for me, is that when things like basketball, I spent years trying to stick with basketball, trying to stick with coaching basketball, playing basketball, and eventually, I had to get to where I'm going. I had to walk away from where I was, which was the brain
That's tough.
injury, then which was my love and passion for basketball that I was holding on for too long. But once I started letting things go, and I have a book, and that's the title of it, is Let Faith Grow. Once I started letting faith grow, I let fear go, right? And eventually continue to make progress. And I saw someone, by the way, that said something about my communication, and I appreciate that, because when someone says anything about my communication or anything like that, that's so big to me. Because people don't know, with compliments, right? People don't know where you've come from, what you've been through.
Right.
So for me to be where I was, to get compliments like that, those kind of things make my day.
Now your book is Let Faith Grow. No.
Yeah. Yep. Let Faith Grow. And I have a copy here. It's called Let Faith Grow, Running Through Adversity. Because I wanted to do is I want this show to grow. Because like I said, connecting with you and like the progress you've made and just conversations we've had, I did want to say, to anyone that asks a question or comes on live or watches the replay and lets us know, I'll do a drawing for my book to send to you. So yeah, it's called Let Faith Grow. It's on Amazon, but I have copies as well. And it's hard to see kind of this, but yeah, Let Faith Grow, to let fear go. And the title's LFG because socially, if you're, sports entertainment, right, we always see that people mouth the words LFG, and it does not stand for Let Faith Grow. It stands for something a little bit more vulgar. So I think it's ironic. So I always say LFG, and then I follow up that with Let Faith Grow.
Right. And sorry about the ticker down below. I don't know something it just showed up there. So I'm trying to, okay, but anyway, I'll get rid of that soon here in just a second. But thank you for sharing that. But you're maybe you can hold. I'm gonna take me off. Maybe you can hold the book up, and it's on Amazon.
Yeah. So this is my book, and I've wanted to write a book for a while. And on the back it says, "Don't limit yourself, your body, or your God." And I wanted to write this book, not to be an author. And I wanted to write this book, right, ever since my journey started. And when my journey started, I had goals and I had things I wanted to say. And Lynette says, how long ago was my stroke? My stroke, brain injury was in 2013. But when I always wanted to write a book, or I always wanted to be a speaker after my accident. I always wanted to take it, no pun intended, head on. And it was really hard to do that because a lot of times when I would do things, I try to start things on YouTube, I try to start saying messages, and I would never show anyone because I would judge myself because I had facial paralysis. My eyelid doesn't shut right. Like I would look at myself talking and I would judge myself. And I would get so frustrated in that, right? And I would lose belief. And so this book for me is real personal in the sense that I didn't want to write a book to be an author. I wanted to write a book to write a book. And it just so happens through the company Streamline Books and the relationships and the growth through my journey to have a book to share my journey, because sharing our faith transforms lives, right? When we share our faith, not push it. So that's what's so great about this book and why it means so much to me is I wrote a book. Yes, I'm an author, but it's more important. It's about writing a book and sharing the message. Yeah, and it's called Let Faith Grow, Running Through Adversity, for those that can't see it.
Nice.
Excuse me.
That's great to hear all that. I mean,
yeah.
It is very inspiring what you're doing.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. So you still can see the comments. I don't know, I have an issue. Oh, good to see. And so now, coming full circle, you're actually running.
Yeah. So I'm a runner, and it's one of the things that I do. And so it's been interesting in the running journey because running's replaced basketball and coaching. But the blessing in it for me has been that running, and I mean, there were times that I struggled with an identity in running. And I was telling you this earlier, like I always get to where I'm going by walking away from where I've been. And so when I first started running, before my brain injury, I signed up for a half marathon. It was a Pittsburgh
Wow.
half marathon before the brain injury. So I started training. I was getting ready for it. Then I had the brain injury. And when I had the brain injury, PCP and the doctors, they said, listen, you cannot run. We didn't think you were going to make it. You cannot run. We don't want you to run. You can't run a half marathon. So the half marathon was in May. And the injury was in January, and I was in the hospital for almost all of the remaining of January, so into February. And so there was a moment where I was like, okay, like I won't run this race,
Right.
because I understand, I had a significant brain injury. And so I called and I said, listen, I said, I had an injury, and I have to defer. I can't run this race. And so the lady on the other line, it was a lady, and she said, okay, well, for you to defer, you have to transfer your bib. And I said, okay. And I said, and I assumed I would just get my money back. Like if you just tell them you can't run the race, I thought I could get my money back. And here, the only way to get my money back was if I transferred the bib to someone, right? And they paid me. And that was a turning point for me, and the first turning point of making it personal, because I was like, hold on. Like, I just had this brain injury. Now you're telling me I can't race, and I'm going to lose $100. And yes, it's only $100, but it's the bigger picture of that. Like, that was my aha moment of how much and what is this going to control in my life? So then I got convinced, and I think that, that's the Lord. And because my life verse became 2 Timothy 1:7, says, for I'm given a spirit of power, love, and self-control. And that was where power, love, and self-control started slowly coming in. I said, no, I'm running this race. And so I would tell the doctors, and I'd tell some other people, like, yep, don't worry about it. Like, I'll walk, I'll do things. I won't, I'll stop if I have to. But I was convinced the whole entire time that I was going to finish this race. And I did. And after I finished that race in 2013, it wasn't until 2014 that running became the new pathway, right? Running became what got me to get to where I was going by running away from where I've been. When I first started running and training, I had goals, but I didn't realize that my goals were idols, because I thought if I hit goals, I would get away from being broken or brain injury. So that was part of it, right? I've been running since 2013, running full marathons since 2015.
Wow.
But learning, and what's amazing about it is I went from a team sport, right? Real quick, says, did your TBI impact your walking? So yeah, it impacted my walking. My vestibular system was shattered. So you have a left side and a right side of your balance system. And so it was shattered. And I joke around with people when I'm running now. I'm like, man, if I could run on 2 feet, or if I could run in balance, like I'd already be an elite runner. Similar to when I was growing up, not from my brain injury, but I lost sight in my right eye. And yet I was still able to play basketball collegiately. So I would joke around with people and say, hey, I want to play in the NBA, because here's the thing. I'm going to be a shoo-in for the Hall of Fame because I'm shooting with one eye. Like 50% of my field goals are one eye. Like 50% of my passes are no look. So I've always used adversities as obstacles. So it affected my walking severely. And then running kind of, because when you start running and you have serotonin levels and other kind of chemical things, that's helped my walking, but I still struggle walking in a straight line. So that part, now when I run and I get in a groove and I get going and I stop thinking, right? Because most of my time walking and things, I'm like, even today, I'm still thinking about like right foot, left foot, or I'm still having balancing issues. It's when I'm running and when I'm in the moment and I have the runner's high that things just open up and you feel free. So my walking's got better. But yeah, I mean, if you put a piece of tape on the floor, as much as I run, and as blessed as I've been able to improve my running,
Yeah.
races, I still can't walk in a straight line. So my walking was definitely severely affected by that because the balance system was shattered.
Right. Right. Yeah. Thank you, Lynette. Lynette's ordered.
Yeah, thank you
I
so
think
much.
it's for ordering the book. Yeah, Barbara. And then Mike, thank you for putting it the link on there for the book on
Yes,
for
thank you.
Amazon. I know. Well, I appreciate it. I know Ben does too. And Christy, nice to see you here too. Um, appreciate you guys asking questions, making comments too. I really, this is awesome. And please share this content. You don't know who's going through a little tough time and could use this. So appreciate it. Um, yeah, and I know there was another comment here. I brought it up. It said, oh boy, what is it? How do you stay so positive? Oh,
So I think that is, biblically speaking, we all have
yeah,
gifts.
sure.
And one of my gifts, I think, is encouraging, is being positive. That's why I was drawn to my life verse, right? For God did not give us a spirit of timidity, but power, love, and self-control. I always had adversities, even before my brain injury. My book talks about this very briefly, but I've had medical setbacks since I was born. I
Yeah,
was born with a condition. I was born with meningitis and encephalitis. I was born with a dormant condition that I still have, it's not called retinal necrosis, but it causes retinal necrosis, where the body, through stress, the virus sheds. And a bunch of times, several times, I think 4 in my lifetime, from when I was a kid, it attacked my retina. And so not only did I have the brain injury, but before that, I already had lost sight in my right eye. A couple times at most lost sight in my left eye. And then actually in 2018, for about 21 days, I was blind. And we had a 3-year-old at the time. And I was home alone. My wife would go to work. I had to stay home alone because I couldn't go anywhere in the house. I had
right,
to stay on the first floor. So in staying positive for me, that's been my gift. I've always been in. Someone once told me, "You wouldn't know what to do with peace if it hit you in the face."
yeah,
And I do believe that. I'm a work in progress. I love to say I'm a miracle in a mess, but I stay positive because that's my gift, right?
right.
In being positive, when you face adversity so much, and that's why sports are so great, you can learn just how to keep going, right? So yeah, I've always been positive because I've always loved people as
Right.
well. So it's just I'm blessed with that. So
Absolutely,
and I've
absolutely.
learned how to make that my biggest asset as well.
Right. And I know that another question was out here, and I apologize if we missed some of these questions here, but are you going to write another book?
I've thought about it, and because when I was first texting in a group chat and connecting with the individuals at Streamlined Books, how this all came along was just unbelievable, and we became really good friends. And so I would text them LFG all the time because jokingly we knew that it stands for Let Faith Grow. But
Right.
again, a lot of people, you hear people say it, and I want to say egotistical, but in sports they'll say let's effing go.
Right.
So I would encourage my friends and Streamline Books and the team, and I would constantly say LFG. So I have wanted to write a book dealing with the post of this book, in the sense of I have a marathon coming up in December, and originally that marathon was going to be the marathon for the Olympic trials, the U.S. Olympic trials. And so the book that I wrote that came out this year, it didn't follow my running through this year. So I thought about writing a book of what next. And a brief title I thought about is, FOMO, we say all the time, it's fear of missing out. But I have the acronym of FOMO, of faith over my objections.
Right.
So if I wrote this first book and it's called Let Faith Grow, I have to be accountable because I've said that and I wrote a book. So I have to be accountable for my faith and I have to have it grow. So one of the next steps I think to help people is I've noticed when we go through trials, right, brain injury, strokes, just in general, anybody that goes through trials, as human beings, we always put our objectives, right? We have so many objectives because we're having conversations with ourselves, our self-worth, all these things. So instead of fear of missing out, let's put our objectives, right? Let's put our faith in front of our objectives. So hopefully that makes sense. Of fear over my objectives, or faith over my objectives. That was a title I thought about, but who knows? Maybe I'll write a book again down the road. We'll see.
Right.
Oh, so my friend, actually, she's on here. Thank you, Denise. She came on, and she said, "Do you still have the Olympic goals in stone?" So that's actually one of my philosophies: is goals in stone, plans in the sand, and we have to pivot. Because life is not perfect,
Right.
And we have to make progress, not perfection. And so, I am realistic, and I've learned how to be realistic. But at the same time, also, right, take chances, and also, anyway. So, when it comes to the Olympic trials is a standard time of 2 hours and 18 minutes.
Yeah.
Now, realistically, I'm not going to get 2 hours and 18 minutes based on where my training's at. Okay. But I still have to show up.
Yeah.
Number one, because it's that philosophy of, if you ever heard 3 feet from gold, right? Most people don't achieve their goal because they're 3 feet from it and someone else gets it. I also have to show up because I have to be obedient, and because I don't know what doors are going to open up. So, if I don't make the Olympic trials and I still show up, I would love to be, a professional runner. So that's the goals in stone, right? We have goals in stone, but let's make it more important about the person that we become and not the goals. Otherwise, if there's so much of an idol, we'll either stop when we don't think we're going to hit them, when we get frustrated, when things don't go the way we want. So for me, it's more the make it personal part at this point is just showing up.
Yeah.
Because you never know what's going to happen if you show up.
Right. Absolutely. Mike. It's funny. You saw that when
Which one is it?
Mike at the bottom says, I'm on Facebook. Are you on Facebook? I'm not a stalker.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, I am on Facebook. And I am an open book. So, feel free to here. And I said this earlier because one of my good friends, becoming more and more of a great friend in my inner circle. I've noticed since about COVID.
Right.
But yeah, he always says this, so I piggyback off him. But he says a friend is just someone, a stranger is just a friend you haven't met yet. So I'm an open book, and I love to meet people. So and I'm glad. I mean, you said you're not a stalker, so it's good to go. We got that out. Clear the air on that one.
Yeah, he's a great guy. He's from the United Kingdom, South Wales.
Oh, awesome!
Yeah,
that is awesome.
And I saw, Denise, thank you for being here. I still, I've seen all your comments here, and I appreciate it. So I've seen them all, and
Denise,
thank you. I appreciate it.
So Denise, so how about real quick backstory in this book, Let Faith Grow. So Run Free is done by the founder is Ryan Hall, and Ryan Hall is the U.S. Olympian and U.S. great distance runner. And Denise and I connected through Facebook, and we connected through running groups. And this is the kind of person that she is, and the character, and the emphasis of showing up, and you never know who you're showing up for. And so she one time met Ryan Hall in person. And because we had started to get to know each other, we'd never met each other in person. She bought Ryan Hall's book. And his book reminded her of me that she sent me a copy of his book. Wow. And to this day, it's one of the most gracious things I've ever had done, and she sends me cards, for the holidays. And it's just amazing what the human connection is, right? And we have to keep that. And so she's an amazing person. And actually on the book, you have to look closely, but in the letters LFG, there's a picture of me and Ryan Hall when we were running in Arizona the year before, so 2022. But I would not have been connected to Run Free or Ryan Hall if it wasn't for Denise Morris. So, I just have been saying this recently a lot, that when you open up your heart to God, God will open up doors for you, or he allows others to hold doors open for you. And that's something that Denise has done for me, which I cannot thank her enough.
Nah, that's great. Thank you, Denise. Appreciate that. That's awesome. Marcelo, Always good seeing you here. And I know I see that, Mike. A massive thanks to Ben and Jerry.
Oh, yes.
Ice cream needed now. I get it, Mike. I didn't until he said it. Wow. Ben and Jerry.
Oh, that's awesome. That is great. I love that.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Um, my wife, you saw that she's impressed by your faith. Well, Mike, a lot of people maybe they don't know it. I don't know if it was during his stroke or whatever. She became a priest.
Oh, wow.
So
That is amazing.
yeah, yeah. So good for you. So what else? What would you tell somebody that's like, I mean, I know. What would you tell somebody that's going through maybe it's a newbie that just had a brain injury that's going through those difficult times in the beginning? I know, we've talked about that. What would you tell somebody?
So I would the couple things I would tell them in how I communicate this to them, getting to know them and seeing where they're at. My communication to them would be two things. Number one, you are your biggest advocate.
Yeah.
The other thing is, and this might even be, a possibility of another book for me, or maybe a devotion down the line. But for me, this whole journey because now I had to take care of myself, and I thought I was taking care of myself and my body,
Right.
but I'm more healthy now, mentally, physically, spiritually, because after my brain injury, it had put me on the forefront of taking care of myself. So the point is, I would tell someone that your biggest advocate is yourself. Because for me, I felt like, and it's a hard thing to communicate, but I felt like everyone else was trying to control me. Everyone else was telling me what to do. Everyone else was telling me how to live. So my goal for anybody would be that, number one, you can still be leader of one, because leader of one, leader of many. If I can't lead one, I can't lead any. So if you're an adult and you've had some kind of a trauma, a stroke, a brain injury, cancer, whatever it is, you can still, with the relationship, for me, it's the relationship, with our Father. So leader of one and being your biggest advocate. Because if you can be a leader of one and your biggest advocate, you will find growth and happiness. Because it's not going to be perfect, but you will have, I don't want to say new identity, but you will, things will work out the way that you're supposed to be. And find mentors. Like if you've gone through something, and because it's very personal with family, right? Our relationships with our family changed. Our friends change. So be okay with, again, let faith grow, let fear go, letting things go, right? There might be things that you're going to have to let go, and other things to pick up. So maybe pick up, you're going to have to pick up new friends, new mentors, right? And don't be afraid to ask. That's the biggest thing. The last thing I'll say real quickly, I'm long-winded.
No, keep going. It's great.
I was telling you this a little before the show. So in 2013, I decided to run the half marathon. The day before the half marathon, I went down in the city and I parked. And within a several block radius to pick up my race packet, I got lost for 4 hours in the city. And that was my first, one of my biggest aha moments, because I did something on my own and I got lost for 4 hours. And as I was lost for 4 hours, I didn't ask anyone where the building was, right? I didn't really talk to anybody. I tried to do it all on my own because I felt lost. I felt hopeless. I felt defeated. All of these things. And there's people all around me. All I had to do in those 4 hours was ask somebody for help. And I didn't ask. So anyway, there was this restaurant. It's called, you might be familiar with, it's called Moe's. And it was in this place called Market Square, Market District. And I kept passing the same location over and over and over and over again. Now, eventually, the reason I finally got found was I did ask someone who I knew was going into the get their race packet because they had a race shirt on. I finally let go of my ego and I said, "Hey, are you going to are you going to get your race packet?" So, fast forward, this weekend I had a 10-mile race and it was in Pittsburgh. And after the race was over, I was walking back to my car. And as I was walking back to my car, what did I find? I walked right near Moe's, Southwest Grills, the exact same Moe's, the exact same landmark from 10 years before when I was lost.
I mean,
That
wow.
was that was my I'm found moment. That was my here I was, here I am, and where I'm going. And I know that my father, right? He's the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow. I can stop doing that. I can stop trying to figure out my past, my present, and my future. And I can start having those self conversations of which one's my anxiety coming from, right? It's
Wow.
about the self talk. When you go through something, leader of one, right? Being your biggest advocate, your self talk has to change. And maybe change it before something happens to you. Maybe your self talk's not great now. Change it now. I just saw the smiling, the laughing faces. It says Mike Peters stalker, and it's
That's good, Serena. That's funny. Wow, it's so like let's see here. Denise, I like that. Totally love your testimony. It is so relatable. Completely. That's wonderful how you said that.
yeah, and that's what I love is the fact that like we are so relatable to each other, right?
Yes.
Because at the end of the day, a human is a human, right? We do things with the conversations with ourselves,
Right.
or the things that we take on, that we go through the perceptions that we have, right? Rather than the perspective that God has. So if we could kind of that the longest journey we're going to take is the 18 inches from here to here. Right, that's our own all of our own personal journeys, so it is relatable. So to encourage others is to encourage ourselves. I
Yeah.
love encouraging people, but over the years I've had so many people in the running community and just all walks of life that what they're doing and how they're showing up, whether it's what they say or what they do, it makes we're equal. And seeing that it's relatable, we can all make progress, right? And we can all make and have growth. So I agree.
Wow. Wow. That's wonderful. I mean, I appreciate you coming on and sharing all that. It's
Yeah.
so it's just wonderful. I appreciate it. Now, did you? Maybe I missed it this morning. Did you run this morning?
Yeah, so this morning I did 6 miles, and I on my personal Facebook page, I made a post
I
about it to
saw that.
kind of for the show because a theme for me because I down the line, I'd love to be a speaker from organizations to teams for mental health, but when it comes to goals,
Yeah.
because that's what the biggest thing about my book's about, right? And faith is a goal because we're not perfect. We need to make
Sure.
progress. But yeah, so I ran 6 miles this morning. It was supposed to be 9. That was the goal that my coach and I had. But one of the things in my faith growth and as a person, and I would tell someone else too, is number one, again, you are your best advocate,
Yeah.
being a leader of one, and in recovery, especially through running, right? That's why I love the sport. But you have to learn how to toe the line. A lot of people don't understand how close the relation is of beating ourselves up
Yeah.
versus pushing yourselves,
Yeah.
right? And so goals are not linear. Some days you're going to hit your goals. Some days you are not, right? That's the season in sports and that's the season in life. So I ran 6 today. The goal was 9, but the difference is in the past, I would have been frustrated that I only did 6. And like, what is that going to do to my mental and physical health? Like, if you're so stuck on that you did something positive and you're being negative about it, I mean, so that's why I put that post on there. Like, I did 6 miles today,
I
and
saw that. That was very motivating to see that.
my kids are getting louder now. I don't
No,
know if they're getting angry or what's going on, but
no,
yeah.
that was great. I appreciate it. Any last words? I mean, it was wonderful.
No, I number one, I just appreciate the opportunity, to be on here. And again, like I said, what you've done in the show and having our conversation before the program about what you did in banking and what your career was.
Yeah.
And it's about impact.
Yeah.
And hey, girls, but with impact, I love how you weren't sure if you would go back to banking because you loved banking, but you love what you're doing because you're impacting.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm so grateful for, and to being connected to that.
Yeah.
Hey, Brielle. Hey, can we tone down just a little? But yeah, that's just it. I mean, the impact, and to see these comments and to connect with people and to have a human connection, because everything, so this day, in these days and age, is automated, right?
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
to not be automated, to have human connection, to be on this show, to connect with other people, to grow, that's what it's all about.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, I completely am honored, and I appreciate that you being on here. Yeah, I know I do too. I love hearing the kids laughing. So sweet.
Yeah, I'd
Yeah,
rather have them laugh than yell or scream.
yeah,
And they get along great. They're 5 years apart. So when they are laughing, that is good. It means
yeah,
they're getting along well despite their age difference. And they don't have on school today
yeah.
because of election day and then
Oh,
teacher conferences and things like that.
yeah.
So
So Ben, you can always go back and see these, and they'll be
yes,
all over the place. And I do
that's
appreciate it. It's all over, on several Facebook pages, YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn, Twitch. It's all over live. So you always go back and see them. The comments. So
yeah. And also I'll say you can email me one word.
yeah,
Be encouraged every day, all one word, at gmail.com. And I use Instagram a lot. And the Instagram handle is Let Faith Grow. And there's just it's just underline, or not underline, but it's let and then underline faith underline grow.
yeah.
So yeah, and just that's it. And I'd love to just connect with people. So
Perfect, perfect. And I'll put it in the comments after, just so people know how to find you.
awesome. Well,
Awesome.
I'm glad that people enjoy the kids' laughters.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. Well, thank you again. And I appreciate a lot too, you saying that. But thank you, Ben. I really appreciate it. It was great. And obviously, we'll be staying in touch, and we'll be following you. And have a great day.
Thank you. You too. Enjoy your guys' day. Have your best day today. Right. Let's just focus on making today the best it can be. And thank you for the opportunity, the comments, the engagement. I appreciate all of it.
Yeah, me too. Me too, Ben. Take care. And again, thank you everybody for being here too. So thank you. Take care. We'll see you guys. Have a great day till Thursday.